So really disheartening for them, I'd say.
Really disheartening for Brisbane Roar, and you know, I think it's a bit of a story of their season though. They've been really hit and miss across the whole season, and there's been games there where they should have won, and it's been really tough for them. And you know, today missing Minnie as well is going to be a massive loss for her, not being on the pitch for that team.
Huge loss for the Brisbane Roar. The Matilda, Katrina Gorry, one of the best players in the competition, played 10 games, 10 starts this year as we are underway. Here in the Liberty A-League, Campbell Johnson and Kath Canoli here in commentary on 10 play. And Paramount Plus, Jamila Rankin wearing the captain's armband for the Brisbane Roar. A big opportunity for the 19-year-old Kath.
It is, isn't it? And it's really good to see that she's showing great leadership skills at training and being able to be presented with that captain's armband. It must really show that she's growing on and off the pitch for Gareth to give her that responsibility, you know, coming off, you know, someone like Minnie that holds that position in a high regard.
A young central pairing for the Brisbane Roar today. Jamila Rankin and the player on the ball now, Holly McQueen. Holly was signed a few years back, I believe the week of their finals game against Melbourne Victory, where they lost heavy-handedly in that one. But had spent some time out with an ACL injury while she was playing for Lions FC. It's actually in the Queensland Kappa Women's Super Cup final. The coach for Western Pride against Lions FC that day, her mum, on the day that she did it. So I was there on that day, and she's been sidelined for some time, but back out there now for the Brisbane Roar. Sian Fryer squaring up with Foster-Larkis. Isn't able to get past in the end. Larissa Crummer leading the line for the Brisbane Roar today. Recently made her 100th appearance for them. It'll be interesting to see with those changes how it affects the Brisbane Roar. Zara Kruger, the 16-year-old, the only Brisbane Roar player who was part of Leah Blaney's most recent Young Matildas squad. Had a great campaign for Lions FC, has been doing well in the QAS for quite some time as well. Sian Fryer, a recent Football Australia scholarship recipient. A few of them in the Brisbane Roar side today. Foster-Larkis, touch just lets her down. But a really promising player, Kath Canoli, one that you gave her debut last year.
Alexia has a massive, you know, career ahead of her. She done so well last year. I remember she was a train-on with us, and we played a boys team in the trial match, and we had to throw in there. We had no one else to play, and we put her in at centre-back. And after the game, I just turned to my assistant coach and said, we are signing her. This kid is going to be the next big thing for Australia. And as we know, she's also got a Philippines background, and I'm sure they're chasing her as well. But it'll be great to see one day when she does finally, you know, debut for the Matildas, because she's a fantastic talent.
Have you had any conversations with her surrounding her international future? We've seen Helen Stajic look around not only the Liberty A-League, you know, players like Angie Beard is one that's been mentioned quite a lot in terms of switching allegiance.
Of course, you know, we have conversations as, you know, player and coach, and we still keep in contact till today. And I've also said to her, at the end of the day, it comes down to her, and at this stage it's still early days for her. She's, you know, playing in the Young Matildas. She's getting some good regular time. She's, you know, cemented a starting spot here with the Western Sydney Wanderers, which is fantastic. And sometimes we forget how young she actually is as well. 16 years of age now. Looks to be playing on the right-hand side of defence today in that right-back position. We know she is very versatile in terms of where she can play in that back line. As you have another look here, Beth Gordon, well, we mentioned it before the game. Player who's drawn the most fouls, and she makes it 30 for the season. But as my point before, we'll get to that after this free kick. Just about her best position, Alexia Foster-Larkis. I think the great thing for her is that she's, you know, versatile. She can play in that centre-back position. She can also play in the right-back position as well, which is always really good for coaches to be able to have that in your team.
Saw Serena Bolden there the Philippines attacker. And the ball in now, flicked on by Sophie Harding. Unable to hit the target, however. The ball back in now as the replay shows. Just couldn't steer it goal bound. India Page Riley to take the throw in. Sophie Harding, her first year in the red and black. Just the one goal, two I should say, in the campaign. Coming over from the Newcastle Jets. Down the line, Rashard. And we're to head it away. Bolden. Harding heading it down. Price lays it off well for Harrison, but just can't thread it through for Serena Bolden, a player who came in mid-season to much excitement. Impressed a lot of people, but it's seemingly kind of simmered down a little bit, Kat.
Of course, you know, she's had a lot of international football. We know she's been away several times with the Philippines national team as well. And after a little while, it starts to take a toll on your body. And I know last time she came back from the international window, she was a little bit heavy and she was carrying something. So, you know, they sort of decided to keep her out of that next game that she returned from. And, you know, over time, it does start to take a toll. And especially as you start to get older and the travel and coming back and forth to Australia is always tough as well.
Will no doubt be ready and raring come World Cup time as Hensley handcuff caught out there. Can Sophie Harding chase it down? The angle just too close. And almost a massive blunder there by Hensley handcuff.
I think she had a bit of a brain snap there. I'm not sure what had happened. And, you know, she was sort of in a good position, but she just didn't have her feet. She didn't actually read the play quite well there and didn't get to clear it well enough.
We see on the wider shots there as well, lots of little patches of water. It was obviously the sprinklers were on prior to the game, perhaps just skidded on a little bit there.
It's always tough in the first, you know, few minutes of the game as well. They would have been, you know, putting a lot of water on the pitch, knowing how hot it's been out in Western Sydney today. And, you know, the conditions have been really tough. So it was a difficult one for handcuff.
It's an immaculate surface out here in Rudy Hill. Claire Hunt giving away the foul there. Drawn by, I believe, Holly Palmer, who really has taken a step up this campaign.
Wanderers Football Park is such an amazing pitch to play on. It's basically Bank West on a smaller scale, which is amazing for any player to be able to go on that pitch and play.
When you mention smaller scale, actually pitch dimensions-wise, or do you mean more the facilities around it? Obviously, it's probably the best facility as a whole in the entire country, but do you mean in terms of the actual footprint of the pitch?
Yeah, the footprint of the pitch and also the grass and everything is basically exact same as Bank West, or CommBank, sorry, as we call it now.
It's been a happy weekend so far for the Wanderers. A derby win last night. What a game that was at Allianz Stadium. The Western Sydney Wanderers men away from home, as it were. 4-0, Kath.
What a game it was. I watched the game and it was so great to see the boys get up, you know, 4-0. And as a Western Sydney Wanderers fan, it's always good the next morning to be able to, you know, text your mates and get the bragging rights out, because it's always a good banter the next day.
Your espresso tastes a little bit better this morning, Kath?
My espresso always tastes good in the morning.
Kaya Stevenson brought down by Amy Harrison there. Amy Harrison, who was in Holland last year. Kaya Stevenson, one who's impressed for so many years in Queensland. India Page Riley doing well there, and that's Kaya Stevenson's game to a T. Such a technical player from a futsal background. Knows how to manipulate the defender. Does so there. Palmer standing over it. In her second stint with the Brisbane Roar. 2 assists this campaign. Delivers now. Great ball towards the back post. Headed on by Holly McQueen and straight up. Not controlled completely by Amy Harrison, but cleared by Beth Gordon. Palmer Tees herself up. That's a great ball once again. Fryer on the edge of the box, striking, but just drags it wide. Just gets too inside of the ball and doesn't force a save out of Shamkamis.
It was a great little ball in, and she just hasn't done well to get a good touch on there, because she actually gets a great touch. She's actually one-on-one with Claire Hunt there.
Here is Hunt. Launches it long. Brought down well by Bolden. Apostolakis. Early ball and a good one at that. Jessie Rashart out to meet it though. The experienced head, the former Canberra United player. 35 years of age now is Jessie Rashart. Only got her first professional contract at age 32. Did Jessie Rashart after impressing in the capital local leagues with Belconnen United, namely. Won the Capital Football Player of the Year. And is thriving at Brisbane, it must be said. Sophie Harding, perhaps taking that one a little bit hard, but perhaps just fixing up the hairband in the end. As well, one a no-nonsense defender, Jessie Rashart. Didn't start the season in the starting 11, but due to injuries and form and the like, has found her home after playing so many games last season. Was really a mainstay for Gareth McPherson. This is nice from the Wanderers. Apostolakis with a bombing run forward, the fullback. And Sian Fryer able to deal with the danger. Quick throw in by the Wanderers. Gordon driving forward now. This is good from Gordon. Cuts it back to the 6-yard box, but just can't find a teammate. It's cut out by the Raw. Claire Hunt lofting it in for Bolden. Coming out is handcuffed and collecting the player in the same breath. Straight down is Serena Bolden. Brave in the flight with both the players. And a heavy collision in the box, but a good ball initially by Claire Hunt. Medics called on straight away as we have another look back at this one. Kath Canuli.
It was a dangerous ball by Claire Hunt. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was getting it back in there, putting it into a dangerous area. And as we've seen all year long with Serena Bolden, she's so, you know, prolific in that 18-yard box. She puts her body on the line for anything, and that's what she's done in that instance as well.
Both players just getting treatment. They look to be all right. No serious head concerns for Serena Bolden. As we have another look back at it, both players just are coming together, eyes for the ball. Hensley handcuffs chest, perhaps feeling a little bit worse for wear after it. Looked okay. And Serena Bolden straight back into the action.
I love the little walk after she's actually cleared that, and just her mannerisms after that. She's just like, I've got the ball and that's it, you know. I'm here to play today, basically.
Serena Bolden, one of those foreign players who brings that mentality that is so crucial when recruiting your visa players. As Connor's in behind. Beating Gemma Ferris now, but just can't manage to get onto the second touch there.
We've spoken about it a lot, you know. Serena Bolden has been a massive impact for this Western Sydney Wanderers team. Ever since she's come, she's been fantastic and, you know, really been the game changer for them.
Connor's touch just letting her down on that occasion, but it's still alive for the Brisbane Roar. India Page Riley delivers towards the near post, almost sneaks in past Shamkamis, but manages to fall on it and saves her side. Matos. Ferris. There's a searching ball. Couldn't find Wanderers' feet. Price, who's having a great season as well. 3 goals for the year. Rashart, so good in the air. Palmer. Riley lifting it in behind that time for Shay Connors, but Shamkamis brave to it.
Great ball and a great run in behind there from Shay Connors, and she was unlucky to not get something on the end of that.
Looks as though India Paige Riley playing a little bit more of a reserved role as well in this one. Perhaps Brisbane Roar shifting to a 5 or pushing Jamila Rankin further out into the left back position, Kath?
They are looking to play a little bit of a different style, and who knows if Gareth is trying to come up with some sort of different tactics today to try and get some sort of win and get the girls, you know, in a better condition after what has happened, you know, the week leading up to this week as well. It's probably been a bit disappointing for them.
Well, if there's a time to experiment, it's now, you'd think, with not too much on the line, season stakes-wise, after some points deductions and some wavering form throughout the year.
For sure, and, you know, probably a big reason he has gone with these tactics as well today is obviously missing Minnie in the middle of the park and knowing how much work she actually does for the team, and trying to actually fill that hole with not just one person but maybe 2 people in the middle of the park to be able to, you know, get out what Minnie actually brings to that team.
India Paige Riley misreading the scenario there, but does well to win it back. Stevenson driving forward now, waits perfectly placed for Shay Connors. Offside is the call. And what was a good ball, just a little bit too eager perhaps. Gareth McPherson with plenty to think about as we have another look here. Shay Connors, yeah, drifting offside on that occasion. Matos. Ferris. One of those players who was part of Leah Blaney's young Matildas squad. She's in attendance today as well. Sophie Harding judged to be offside that time. English born is Sophie Harding. McQueen. Brisbane Roar happy to hang on to possession. Build slowly through the back. And just doesn't pay off on that occasion as Holly McQueen can't find India Paige Riley, the New Zealand international, out wide. Just putting it a little bit too far behind her on that occasion. Not sharp enough, as it were. Ferris. Postolakis. Gordon. Not too many places to go. Is well met by Rankin. Does well to keep it in play. To Kruger. Out well by Gordon. Gareth McPherson's instructions coming through loud and clear on the effects mic. Doesn't want Shay Connors to get drawn in too much by the sounds of things. Kath Canuli.
He would be really looking at, you know, ways that he can really exploit the Western Sydney Wanderers, and probably knowing that this heat as well in Western Sydney today, and not wanting to exert too much, and really waiting for her moment to be able to pick those moments and be able to go together, you know, and trying to be able to execute at the right time.
As someone who's spent a fair bit of time in both states, it's fairly comparable, and I'm sure both sides will be very happy with the time change in this one.
100%, and, you know, spending a season in Brisbane, I can tell you the heat is something that probably is not worrying them today, and especially the humidity. At the Brisbane Roar, my season up there, it was a big shock coming from Sydney as well, so yeah, the girls would be really happy to know that the game has been changed, and, you know, looking out for everyone on all parts.
Crummer striking. Almost hits the number 6 behind the goal. Hit it sweetly. but unable to hit the target.
I think the crazy thing for me there is that how much time she actually had there to actually strike that ball and set herself up and hit it. And she has to hit the target there.
Amy Harrison doing a good job in there, at least, with the last-ditch effort.
Yeah, it was a great last-ditch effort, but, you know, you can't give someone like Larissa Crummer that much time and space in front of goal because, you know, most times she will punish you.
Just the 3 goals so far this season for Larissa Crummer. Great moment for Zara Kruger as well, 16 years of age. Gareth McPherson rates her very highly. Promising young player, that's for sure. The youngest of the Brisbane Roar squad today. In a squad that, when you look at it on the balance of things, and when we were looking at it pre-game, Kath Cannoli, a side that you'd probably expect to have some younger players or some players that are maybe just a year or two older than you thought or anticipated, which is, they don't really have too many of those players that you see around the league that are 15, 16, 17, littered throughout their squad. Stevenson.
They don't, you know, and it's a little bit disappointing for me because the QAS is such a fantastic program, and you know, they've developed so many great footballers over the years, and now you've really got to start to look at where is the next generation of Brisbane Roar players, especially knowing that, you know, the likes of Polks and Tamiki Yallop and, you know, Katrina Gorey, how many times can they keep doing the 2 seasons? And, you know, we've really got to start to look at a rebuild here at Brisbane Roar, and I think Brisbane Roar got to look at, is Gareth McPherson the right person to do this? Is the QAS program going to be the feeder club? We know that there's, you know, I know a player that was in the Young Matilda squad that's not even shown here playing for the A-League team at the moment, which is, you know, quite disappointing to see that these young players are, you know, getting their chance in the Young Matildas, but don't even have a scholarship contract at the Roar.
Ella O'Grady, the player in question, as the ball slipped in behind. This time for Sian Fryer, a punching save by Sham Karmas to keep her side from scoring, or from conceding, I should say. As we have another look back, a good bit of play from Kaya Stevenson.
Great little bit of play and great little ball in behind there, and you can see Sham Karmas after making that save. She's having a few words of her back line, and as we know on the training pitch, Sham is not a quiet person and should be given it to them right now. And again, you know, we've got to say what a fantastic to see Sham, you know, step up with Jordan Bloomer, obviously being called back from her team.
There's the ball in now, headed up by Postelakis. Tried to volley it, did India Page Riley, just couldn't manage to hit it cleanly. Sham Karmas, former Sydney FC, Canberra United and Melbourne Victory player, as well as Connors, striking with some ferocity, but straight down the throat of Karmas on that occasion.
Again here, great little ball in and good little around the corner, and too much time to give him time to be able to shoot. Got to close him down really quickly there.
Hunt. Ferris, just 4 games this season. This her 5th. Good to see a young player getting a run in the first team. Something that's been a good part of their identity over the past few years. Smart from Claire Hunt. Just to head it back. It wasn't perfect, but it did the job. And Sham Karmas able to restart things for the Wanderers. Price. Couldn't find Sophie Harding. Bolden does well. Strong on the ball. Just giving it away too cheaply on that occasion. And Fryer brought down by Beth Gordon, and the foul is given against her.
Great little battle by those two already. It's been 23 minutes in, and, you know, got a little tug of the shirt, and I think Beth's getting one back there on the last one.
Such a fun player to watch is Beth Gordon. Sian Fryer, a player who's in her 2nd stint with the Roar, after spending some time back in the NPL and out with injury as well over the course of her young career. Has impressed for the likes of the Gap, Moreton Bay United as well in the local competition in Queensland. Gordon. Nice ball out wide for Matos. Just a little bit too far ahead of her, but nice ball speed nonetheless.
Great ball speed, and you know that's what that pitch is all about. You know, when you get the ball on the deck there and let it run, and it's a fast pitch, and especially would have had a bit of water on it as we've seen from before. And you know you got to really understand the weight of the passes now and get a good feel for the pitch.
First drinks break of the game here at Wanderers Football Park. Currently a stalemate. 25 minutes into the game. Both sides having a fair run of things. Brisbane Roar struggling to maintain possession, but they're being given a little bit too much time in and around the box, perhaps.
With possession, yeah, they've struggled at times, but to be fair, overall, Brisbane Roar have had more chances and shots on goal and given them way too much time and space in and around the 18-yard box.
And there is Leah Blaney, mentioned her before, having a chat with Sheridan Gallagher. Someone I know she spent a lot of time with. We saw Taylor Pellizzeri on the camera and on the coverage the other week, and this time it's Leah Blaney.
Yeah, look, those two go way back, you know. Leah Blaney, obviously at Westfield Sports High School, and Sheridan was a student there and part of the football program. And, you know, she's known Sheridan since she was a young girl coming through the ranks. And, you know, it's really good to see that they've still got a great relationship between them. And, you know, probably a lot of chatting there on to what's next for Sheridan.
She's a player who's impressed in fits and spurts over the course of the season.
It would be really interesting to know why Sheridan Gallagher actually isn't even on the team sheet right now, you know. How do you leave someone like Sheridan out? Is there an injury cloud over her, or is she just out of favour with the coach at this point in time?
Wasn't included in Leah Blaney's most recent squad, perhaps just a little bit too old for that bracket, perhaps?
I think she is, and, you know, I think Sheridan done really, really well to get herself back into football. And again, we signed her on a scholarship contract at Western Sydney Wanderers, and you know she proved to us and herself that she was worthy of a full contract. And you know that next season she was back in the Young Matildas, and what a fantastic honour to be able to captain your country, and you know thoroughly deserved, because at one stage we didn't even know if she was going to return back to football. So it's fantastic to see such a great young talent back in the game, but it's going to be interesting to see what's next for her.
She's a player that's perhaps divisive at times with some challenges and stuff, but nonetheless completely and utterly devoted to her football, at least for the moment.
Of course, Sheridan's a player that just wears her heart on her sleeve. She's a game winner. She gives everything. And I tell you what, if I was playing these days, I'd hate to be going into a 50-50 tackle with her.
Make sure your hair's cut short, perhaps, especially if you're wearing sky blue. Price just unable, obviously calling back to the challenge on Taylor Ray from last year, I believe.
Honestly, that tackle, that whole week at training, there was so much social media around that, and you know it was really tough for her as well. And you know at the end of the day you got to get on with it, and as athletes, you know sometimes we do have brain snaps and we do things that you know we really don't mean, it just happens. But unfortunately for Sheridan, she's been on those ends a couple more times than she probably should.
Stevenson driving forward now for the Roar. Can't do too much with it. Even the option out wide, Kath.
She had to get her head up and drive towards that defender and really suck her in to be able to play that player in on the left-hand side, because that could have been a nice, easy shot on target or even a possible goal.
Watched her quite a bit over the years in the Queensland competition, whether it be with QAS or Brisbane City, and she is a very prototypical futsal player. You can see that in the way she plays, her close control and the like. But you're absolutely right, just in terms of that heads-up play in a full 11-a-side environment, perhaps needing some improvement on that occasion.
Futsal's fantastic, though when you get older it gets harder, because we're talking about two different games. The outdoor game and the indoor game is completely different, and your decision making is a lot different. And sometimes when you get into those areas, you have to really start to understand, you know, on a bigger pitch, what can I do, how can I drag players in, how can, you know, get the third phase runs in and get better players into a better position.
Hunt out wide for Matos. Been with the red and black for the last few seasons as Danica Matos. 4th season at the club. Originally signed as a train-on player back in 2019. Player who's bided her time. Really broke out in the 2020-21 campaign, making 11 appearances. Handcuff. On loan from Gotham FC, you wonder. We saw Jordan Bloomer return to Racing Louisville. But the same hasn't been done for Hensley Handcuff here, or the likes of Hilary Beale at Western United. Obviously on the hunt for the Premier's Plate and the Championship, Hilary Beale. But for Hensley Handcuff, not really too much to play for the Brisbane Roar, as Sian Fryer driving forward. Crummer raised on the Sunshine Coast into Wanton. He's been a bit of a journeyed player in the Liberty A-League. Newcastle Jets, Melbourne City, Sydney FC, debuted for the Sky Blues. Fryer. Connors, dispossessed, but won back by Fryer. Stumbles a little bit, but keeps it alive for the Roar. Just back to the point we were talking about just before, Kath, about perhaps the reasoning behind some of the American keepers who were on loan from NWSL sides staying here and some returning to the parent club.
We always know, and it's always a risk when we do sign players from the NWSL, that in their contracts, predominantly they are loan players to us, so the clubs can always recall them at any time. And as we've seen with players that have been injured, the clubs have asked for them to return back to their home teams and do their rehab with their clubs. In this instance as well, obviously we know Jordan Bloom has been recalled by Racing Louisville. Again, you know, you've got Hilary Beale at Western United. They're in contention for a premiership and a championship. So we know that, you know, Hilary Beale is a number 2 keeper. Jordan Bloom is a number 3. Their season's about to start, so they're probably thinking, well, one of you's have got to come back. And Western Sydney Wanderers at this point in the season aren't playing for anything, because that's probably why they have recalled her. For the Hensley Handcuff, you know, we don't know what the reasoning is that she is staying. It could have been negotiated in her contracts, or, you know, from both parties, and both clubs have agreed that she does stay the whole season, again, not being the number 1 in her club. So, you know, and that's always a risk that we always sort of find with these signings as well.
Harding, another player we haven't spoken about too much about her absence today, but Kaiser Lind, Swedish centre half, who's been playing for the Brisbane Roar this season, following Katrina Gorry back to Vitcho. I know, at least in the case of Katrina Gorry, having to go back, so she's then available for the national team for the World Cup, to leave that season early to be able to prepare, and Kaiser Lind heading back with her.
This is such a tough situation, you know, because what if Brisbane Roar are actually fighting for a final spot, and then you've got 2 of your top players that are actually getting called back to go back to Sweden? And it's not just tough on the clubs, it's actually tough on the players as well. And you've worked so hard all season to then, you know, we're not saying that 2 players make a team, but they're 2 key players, especially in this Brisbane Roar team.
I'm sure for the Brisbane Roar, felt like a little bit of a blow after blow this week, losing Katrina Gorry, and then the points deduction just shortly after. A mental challenge that comes with that, but they're responding well here against the Wanderers. Connors trying to cut inside, but Danica Matos does well. Gordon. Bolden takes it inside. Good ball for Steinmetz, the New Zealand international. Threading it through, but to no particular direction, Kath.
The problem there is that Serena Bolden has come so deep to come and look to get the ball, that when, you know, Marley is getting that ball in behind, there's actually no one there to actually get on in behind or get on it.
Perhaps needing someone else to step into the void on that occasion. Great ball across. Too far for Shay Connors, however. And Matos can just settle the ship. Ferris. Hunt. Brisbane Roar not really applying any press or any pressure, allowing Western Sydney to play how they want at the moment. Steinmetz just keeps it in play. All a bit stagnant at the moment. Both sides just feeling each other out. Western Sydney not forcing the issue. Brisbane Roar not applying the press. It's been a bit symptomatic of the Brisbane Roar this campaign. No real true identity in that regard.
It's tough there for Brisbane Roar. You know, you're sitting off, but there's got to be a point when the opposition team goes side to side that you actually have to pick a moment where you actually have to press, because otherwise you're just allowing them to go side to side, and it becomes, you know, not an actual moment where you can actually pick something off. There has to be a point there where Brisbane Roar go, hey, we're going to go for this now.
Brisbane Roar with 87% pass accuracy today, holding on to things quite well, as it were. A good surface, a bit wet, however. Campbell Johnson and Kath Canuli here in commentary for today. Kaya Stevenson playing the ball forward, but just a little bit too narrow for Shane Connors, and a little bit aimless perhaps in that moment. Matos. Rashard has been so good today. Always there for the Brisbane Roar when they need her.
She's just a solid player. She just does her job well. She doesn't overcomplicate things. She's just a simple player and just does her job well. Whether she's playing in centre back or as a fullback role for her team, it's, you know, just simple, and she does that quite well. And she's a great leader on the pitch as well. To have someone in that older category that's been around, you know, the last few years, and, you know, has a level head on her, it's great for the Brisbane Roar team.
And it's not only football experience for Jessie Rashard, but also life experience as well. Would be fair to say the oldest player in the team, 35 years of age, but brings so much on and off the pitch.
I think when you get older and you're on the pitch, and I think every game is a blessing, right? And, you know, you start to, you know, take every game as like, you know, this is great that I can actually go out there and play 90 minutes week in, week out.
There's Harding across the face, turned in by Beth Gordon. Easy as you like, and Western Sydney Wanderers open the scoring at Wonderland. Their third shot on target, and they capitalise.
Textbook finish, you know, you see that on the training pitch, you know, coming down the byline and crossing it in, and a great first time finish by Beth Gordon, and, you know, perfect cross as well, which is fantastic. And, you know, it's a bit hard done by for Brisbane Roar. I think they've had more of the chances this game, and, you know, Wanderers get up there for their first time and put it in the back of the net.
Her first Liberty A-League goal, and what a moment to do it. You can see the delight on her face. A player who's impressed so much this year. Her first of the season. What a time to do it.
Fantastic for Bethany Gordon, and for me, it's so great to see her playing for the Western Sydney Wanderers. She's been such an outstanding player in the New South Wales NPL, and, you know, she's been around for a long time, been in those Future Matildas programs, and been around, you know, young Matilda squads, and, you know, to see her actually get, you know, a position in the Western Sydney Wanderers and, you know, really cement that starting spot, I think it's fantastic for her, because she's a fantastic player.
She looked brilliant all game long, has Beth Gordon, former Newcastle Jet, former Canberra United player as well. Spent the off-season with the Macarthur Rams in the New South Wales NPLW. Obviously, they won the competition there, Kath.
They did, and she was one of their key players in that squad. You know, they've got an abundance of talent, and, you know, obviously Lena Karmas is in there as well, and there's a lot of Sham Karmas also plays at Macarthur Rams.
as well.
Melka Saris. There's been a lot of girls that have come out of the Macarthur Rams team from last season, but they done fantastic. I watched a few games live, and you could just see the differences, and, you know, the way they gelled as a squad. They've done really, really well, and they're probably picked to go back-to-back this season as well. But to see Bethany really, you know, cement a spot here at the Wanderers and playing week in, week out, I think just goes to show, you know, what a talent she is, and technically she's very, very good on the ball.
An exciting player. One that you don't realise is 24 years of age at this stage in her career. Price. Going to go around India Page Riley. Matos tees herself up, headed away by Rasha. Steinmetz. Apostolakis, looping ball into the box and headed away by, yep, you guessed it, Jess Rasha. Once again, having a sensational game for the Brisbane Roar. Gareth McPherson looking back at it, I'm sure. Looking at how they can adjust, and it was one of those ones, the goal where it just popped up, right place, right time. Beth Gordon.
Again, I thought they were quite hard done by that, but, you know, quality from Sophie Harding, great cross in, and again, Beth is in the right place at the right time. She's done that, she's made that run, and she's been rewarded for it.
They get a corner now. Amy Harrison delivering towards the near post. It's a good ball. Claire Hunt rises above the pack and heads it home for her first Liberty A-League goal. The Matilda at long last.
Wow, what a finish by Claire Hunt. Great delivery there as well by Amy Harrison. And God, I'm going to have to hear about this all week long. I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of texts about this goal. And I can tell you on the training pitch, she practices these over and over again to try and have this moment.
What a moment for Claire Hunt. Someone who's been through the trials and tribulations, injuries, aplenty for Claire Hunt. And how good to see her finally get her moment in the sun.
Amazing for her. Again, like I said, she's one that is always on the training pitch. She's last off trying to practice these and getting deliveries in, and, you know, working on this over and over again. And, you know, what a season she's had, and what a year she's had, you know, debuting for the Matildas and having a great Tournament of Nations, and now coming out and scoring this goal. You can't really top what she's been through.
It's been a pretty awesome few months for Claire Hunt. A head collision perhaps here, or at least collision between two Matildas. As we have another look back, Larissa Crummer, ooh, and Claire Hunt. That one will be sore tomorrow and now.
That's a tough one. You know, she's lent in there with her shoulder and her elbow. It's a really, really tough one on Larissa Crummer as well. And
surely a HIA test due for both players. Claire Hunt looks to be fine. Both players have really struggled with injury over their career as well. Larissa Crummer and Claire Hunt perhaps having to go to the dentist on Monday.
I think Larissa Crummer's going to have to go to the dentist, and I think Claire Hunt was, you know, she's lent in there with her arm and her elbow, and I think she's grabbed her shoulder afterwards as well. It's a bit of a tough one there as well. Not good from Claire, but I definitely would be no malice in that.
Well, you mentioned you're going to get texts about the goal. You might get some texts, or you might have to send some texts to Claire Hunt in the week, Kath Canoli.
At least I'll have something to get back on the goal, so that'll be good.
She won't be able to brag the whole time. How good as well. 2 goals for the Wanderers in 4 minutes. 2 debut Liberty A-League goals, maiden Liberty A-League goals in 4 minutes for the players as well. There's Matos. Can the Wanderers go again? 2 shots on target, 2 goals. Laid off this time. Crummer back in the thick of it. I'm surprised neither player had to come off the pitch to get a check of any sort.
I think she didn't get her quite right in the head. I think it was more in the mouth and in the chin. So, and as we all know, Larissa Crummer and Claire Hunt, 2 solid players.
As Harding striking, and it is fumbled, but eventually collected by Hensley Handcuff. And I think you're right, Kath Canoli is 3 minutes added on here at Wanderers Football Park. Not a completely square collision, and this was nice from Sophie Harding to make some room for herself and get a shot off.
Sophie Harding's done really well there in the way she's turned with the ball and to be able to get a shot off on goal, and she's done fantastic in that moment. And again, you know, that was Western Sydney Wanderers' 3rd shot on target for the whole game in 45 minutes, and to have 2 goals, what a fantastic achievement for them.
Karmas. Good ball from Matos, but hard to control. India Page Riley just couldn't squeeze through the defence on that occasion. Ferris clearing. Palmer driving forward, beats 2. Out wide for India Page Riley. Blocked by Matos, and Steinmetz happy to see it away. And now in the box once more, almost from Shay Connors out of nowhere. Almost beat Sham Karmas at the near post.
Shay Connors just puts herself in positions where she can always just, you know, manoeuvre herself to be able to get something in on goal, and she does really, really well with her runs, and that's one of the reasons why she has so many opportunities.
Great ball by India Page Riley as well, just sneaking towards the front post. A really dangerous area, that corridor of confusion. And Western Sydney Wanderers, with just a few minutes to play, on track for their 2nd win as a club of the weekend. McQueen. Riley. Looking for Shay Connors up front. Playing in more of a central role compared to where she started the season. Hensley Handcuff alert to it, and Shay Connors apparently not coming from an offside position. Crummer driving forward. Marked well by Ferris. No one following up on the right-hand side for the Raw. And Larissa Crummer playing on the left-hand side of this front 3 as Bolden keeping it in play. In behind for Sophie Harding. And Riley happy to see it away, but had more time than she perhaps thought. Price getting tripped up on the ball there, just getting a little bit behind her. Connors, now an opportunity for the Raw to strike back. Connors has Stevenson, has to go out wide for her. Connors still saved by Karmas and cleared for the Wanderers.
Connors has done really, really well there. You know, she's absolutely driving at that central defender, and she's doing really, really well. She could have played in that player on the left-hand side, but she's, you know, opted to go herself, which is fine. She's got a great shot on target, but, you know, she's done really well in the way she's done that, and, you know, unfortunately could have done better with putting it in the back of the net, but well done for her.
Well, she's in a rich vein of form. 2 goals last week. Who could blame her for trying to be a little bit greedy on that occasion? Well, Brisbane Roar have never lost against the Wanderers in New South Wales, and as it stands at half-time, Western Sydney could be on their way to their first win over the Roar at home, as at half-time it is Western Sydney 2, Brisbane Roar 0. Well, let's have a look, Kath Canoli, at how it stands at the break. Brisbane Roar with plenty of opportunities, but nothing to show for it.
Unfortunately, that's the case for Brisbane Roar, and, you know, Western Sydney Wanderers at the time had 2 shots on target and 2 goals, and, you know, again, Brisbane Roar had more majority of the shots and majority of the possession in this first half as well. So, unfortunately for Brisbane Roar, the Wanderers go into the break at 2-0 up.
Well, if the first half is anything to go off. It'll be a tantalising second stanza coming your way. It is right around the corner. Stick with us.
Yeah, we look nice.
Yep. So we are here at Western Sydney Wanderers Football Park, and it's Claire Hunt with a strike. To open things up, we'll just turn on the other mic as well to just check how it is on that, as it is Cap Cannoli here in commentary alongside myself, Campbell Johnson. Cap.
What a fantastic strike by Claire Hunt. That coming off the header, she's just used her body in the right moment.
Cool. Awesome, thanks guys.
Welcome your Western Sydney Wanderers back to the field for the second half of our match against Brisbane Roar, beating 2-0.
Welcome back to Wanderers Football Park here in Rudy Hill in Sydney's West, as Western Sydney Wanderers are currently on track for their first win over the Brisbane Roar on home soil. As we have a look back at the highlights from the first half, 2 goals to the Western Sydney Wanderers in Kath Canuli, 2 maiden Liberty A-League goals.
2 fantastic goals, and Malia Starmet's there. What a great ball in behind for Sophie Harding. Textbook cross and textbook finish, and again, fantastic to see Beth Gordon on the score sheet tonight.
You can see the passion from Beth Gordon as well. And how about this? Matilda Claire Hunt rising up, someone who's had so many troubles with injuries over the past few years. How awesome is that?
Unbelievable, and it's fantastic to see Claire on the score sheet tonight. Again, we speak about how many times over and over should be practicing these at training, and we can't go past the delivery from Amy Harrison as well. It was a pinpoint delivery. Claire's done really well in the way she's manoeuvred her body to get up and above Jessie Reichart there as well, and to put that ball in the back of the net off the head, it's not always easy also.
Western Sydney Wanderers so clinical. There were a few chances for the Brisbane Roar through the likes of Shay Connors in that first half, but really bearing no fruit on that occasion.
It's always a tough one, you could have the majority of the chances, and we know that, Brisbane Roar had, 9 shots on goal, and they had a few chances in the first half, and it's always tough if you don't take those opportunities that the game can turn on the other end. And, Western Sydney Wanderers had those couple of chances and, put them in the back of the net, and that's why they're 2-0 up. Well,
the second stanza has arrived here in the west of Sydney. It is currently Western Sydney Wanderers 2. Brisbane Roar 0 here in the Liberty A-League. Campbell Johnson and Kath Canuli in commentary for today. A Brisbane Roar side without key players like Katrina Gorry, Kaiser Lind as well, Ish Norrie to boot. And Western Sydney Wanderers with reinforcements, players back from the young Matildas, a burgeoning young side that have laid the foundations for a promising campaign next year. And Western Sydney Wanderers as well. Kath Canuli with the opportunity today to leapfrog the Brisbane Roar with a win.
I'm sure they'll be talking about this all week. You want to be finishing as high up on the ladder as you possibly can, and they would be disappointed that their season took off quite late, and they got those couple of good wins. And unfortunately for them, it wasn't meant to be this season to get into the top 4, but hopefully Kat Smith can really keep the majority of this team together and really build on this, because she has some really fantastic young talent in that squad. And there's some great young talent on the bench as well. You've got Ella Abdul-Massi, and you've got Sienna Silvesca, 2 players, and Amy Chisari as well. 3 great young talents that have got big futures ahead of them in this Liberty A-League.
Super competitive, and what you tend to see as well is sometimes that some players that are at the likes of Sydney FC and squads like that who aren't getting as much game time can then go over to the red and black side of the town and get some game time and add some players from around the league as the ball searching for Serena Bolden doesn't manage to find her. Whether they can hang on to her next year as well is a point of interest for the upcoming season. There's a ball in for Shay Connors from Sian Fryer. Offside is the call.
So what happened?
I think it'd be fantastic for the Western Sydney Wanderers to be able to retain Serena Bolden again. I think she's been fantastic for this league, and I think she's been great for the Western Sydney Wanderers. And she'll be playing in Australia with the Philippines in the Women's World Cup this year, and she's come to Australia from the Japanese league, and to keep her here for another season I think would be fantastic for both her and club.
Harding striking from range. What a strike it was, but just couldn't dip down or find the corner for Sophie Harding, the English-born forward. Had time to shoot there, given free range, but just couldn't find the target on that occasion.
Way too much time there. You're looking at, Jessie Reichart there and thinking there's got to be a point where you have to go towards the ball, especially when the player gets within striking distance as well.
Crummer. Zara Kruger, a big opportunity for her, the 16-year-old. Was away with Leah Blaney's young Matilda's side. They saw a big collision in the first half. Kath Canuli, Claire Hunt and Larissa Crummer coming together, sorry. You've noticed something.
Two tough competitors, you know, and you could see after that collision that, you know, Claire Hunt was actually grabbing onto her shoulder, and you could see there was medical attention at half-time as well.
Claire Hunt, a player who's had her fair share of troubles with injury. Fair bit of time on the physio's table, no doubt. Shay Connors picking the pocket of Gemma Ferris there, and we know how much pace Shay Connors has to burn. Connors striking. Larissa Crummer, easy as you like. Got a touch on the way through, and a muted celebration by the Brisbane Roar and Larissa Crummer. She gets her 4th of the campaign, and the climb may be back for the Brisbane Roar.
A really quiet celebration there by Larissa Crummer, you know, but Shay Connors done really well down that right-hand side. She's used the speed to get a great ball home out there for Larissa Crummer to get on. Some poor defending there from Western Sydney Wanderers.
One question for you, Kath. Shot or cross?
I think it was a cross.
I think it was a shot. I'm sure Shay Connors will be saying it is a cross. Either way, I think she'll get the assist for that one, despite it taking a touch on the way through. Beth Gordon back underway, and Brisbane Roar halved the deficit here in the west of Sydney. Apostolakis dispossessed. Fryer. Beth Gordon does well. Just a shutdown play. Player who perhaps can make some big improvements next year as well on what has been a great year for her. This is nice play from the Wanderers.
Great little passage of play there by the Wanderers.
And now, Steinmetz. Wanderers slick at the moment. Falls for Harding, striking. And Hensley handcuffed, equal to it. Not troubled too much in the end. And Brisbane Roar looking to play in a more direct fashion. Shay Connors conceding the foul.
It's great little play here by Western Sydney Wanderers. Nice little one-touch passes, but it gets to the point there where Sophie Harding does she really need to hit this first time. She's got so much, you know, time and space there that she can actually maybe even take that player on 1v1. She's got so much speed, and if you are going to hit that ball first time, you've really got to get your body over it and really strike it.
Hunt, how can the Wanderers respond, bounce back, get their 2-goal cushion back?
If I know Claire Hunt well enough, I'm pretty sure that she has hurt herself in that collision with Larissa Crummer, and she's playing injured right now.
I think she might have some strapping on that right shoulder by the looks of things.
You can see that she's not comfortable when she's running. You could see that last goal when she was actually running back. She's actually doesn't look right with that shoulder. Whether she's in a little bit of pain or whether she's had, I'm not sure, but there's something not right with that shoulder.
Well, for all Matildas fans, you'll be hoping she's okay for the upcoming friendlies. Was so good in the Cup of Nations where she made her debut and really proved herself as a viable option, as Shay Connors tracking back, but just couldn't meet the ball. Not known particularly for her aerial prowess, Shay Connors. More known for the speed she possesses. The American from Connecticut has a, by the looks of things, bicep/shoulder strapped. And Claire Hunt, well, she's a tough cookie. No stranger to being injured. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Connors. Kruger looking for the switch of play, but Danica Matos waiting with open arms. Palmer will have a big job stepping up in the absence of Katrina Gorry and Ish Norrie as well.
It's great to see Holly Palmer in the middle of the pitch. You know, sometimes we look at Holly Palmer and think that she's still a young footballer, but she's been around for such a long time, and you know, she's coming on 22 now, and it's time for her, you know, when the likes of, you know, Katrina Gorries do step away from this team, that, you know, gives her the opportunity to be able to step up and fill those shoes.
In her second stint with the Brisbane Roar, spent some time with Melbourne City as well, returned last season to the club where she did make her debut, playing today in her 59th Liberty A-League appearance. Now the Wanderers. Malia Steinmetz trying to thread it through for the Filipino attacker. As a substitution will be made. Sophie Harding. In fact, it is for the Brisbane Roar, so it will be Larissa Crummer making way. And Tamar Levin coming on. So I'm sure that'll just see Sian Fryer perhaps push a little bit further forward. Tamar Levin, that reserved left full back role perhaps.
It's an interesting substitution bringing Larissa Crummer off. You know, they've just scored a goal, they're back in this game, and I wonder if that collision in the first half has got anything to do with her actually being replaced.
Well, she did manage to get the goal, so even if the plan was to only have her on for another 10 or so minutes, just pay dividends for the Brisbane Roar. Kostelakis cuts inside. He's marked well. Great ball. And taken in stride by Amy Harrison, who does get a little bit physical and gives away the foul. Zara Kruger fitting in. Had a rough start to her Liberty A-League career, thrown right in the deep end, it must be said. Hunt. Well, we saw Larissa Crummer make way, part of that collision that we did mention. Will we see the same from Claire Hunt? Time will tell. Kostelakis. Not a bad first-time ball, but Jamila Rankin and a crunching challenge from Serena Bolden on Holly Palmer, who does get up with ease, however.
She's such a fierce competitor, Serena Bolden, and she's just a winner, and she's always wanting to win that ball and do great things for her team.
Price. And a big challenge once again. They're flying in from everywhere at the moment. Good play by Karmas. Not panicking in that moment. Kostelakis, great ball from Harrison. Takes on Fryer. Fryer wins out. Does really well in the end. Up against the 16-year-old. Shay Connor's doing well on that occasion as well.
That's the one down back down the line. You're on left.
Connors has Stevenson outside, opts to go in, and then a tangle there. Stays down. Didn't look overly pretty in the moment.
Some big tackles in this half as well. You know, the game's really starting to open up, and you know, both teams are willing to go for it, and especially Brisbane Roar now getting that goal back, and they're going to really fight for this. And Western Sydney Wanderers are up for this fight, and the challenges are going both ways at the moment.
Rasha able to take the throw in. Don't know what happened at half-time, Kath Canuli, but both sides have come out with a certain intensity. Head in hands there as well.
I think both teams, you know, really want to get the win tonight. You know, it's a real difficult situation for both teams. They can't make the top 4, and you know they've got to have something to play for. And I'm sure both coaches would have been in the sheds at the halftime saying, you know, do you really want this?
Rankin saw her play most of her time over the last few years in that left back position, but playing in a more central role. But today looks to be a bit more of a 3 at the back from the Brisbane Roar at times, with those more attacking minded wing-back / winger positions filled by India Page Riley and Sian Fryer for most of the game, Kat.
Definitely, yeah. They're looking at to push on numbers a little bit higher up the pitch, and you know, obviously allowing Jamila Rankin with her, you know, left-footed player to be able to get wider and get on the ball, and knowing that she can play those balls in, and you know, probably try something different to take to the Western Sydney Wanderers today. And I thought in the first half they'd done quite well trying to execute this, and you know, you can see there the youngster coming deep to try and pick up the ball and, you know, try and get Fryer in behind and get her nice and wide to get on the ball. And she's done fantastic as well today, I think.
Postelakis does well to shut down the danger. And Brisbane now starting to get a bit of a foothold in this game. They were fairly dominant throughout the first half. Had nothing to show for it, however. Weren't quite taking their opportunities in the same manner that Western Sydney were, but now perhaps the shoe's on the other foot.
Of course, you know, football is all about momentum as well, and sometimes, you know, when you do get that goal, it sort of shifts the momentum, and I think also getting on the ball and playing and being more comfortable.
As Palmer sweeping it in there. Just a little bit too much, not enough numbers perhaps in the box, or reading it right for the Brisbane Roar.
Again, for the Brisbane Roar here, you know, you get these opportunities, you get corners, you've really got to make the most of these opportunities when you get that far up the pitch, and you know, to give away a corner and not get anything out of it, that's quite disappointing at this point in the game.
And as things are, possession perfectly balanced, 50% apiece. A fair reflection of how the game's currently playing out, Kat.
I really think it is. It's a fair reflection of both teams. You know, they've had great moments on the ball and they've done some really good stuff, and then they've had some poorer moments where they've just given possession away cheaply. You know, just like that, you can't just give the ball away like that. You've done so well to build up from the back and get yourself into, you know, positions where you can face forward and go at defences, and you've got to do more of that.
And as a coach, Kath, I mean, how much of a coach killer are those ones where it's almost aimless and just getting it away with no real purpose? What do you think goes through the mind of players in those moments? As we'll get back to that in a moment, as Serena Bolden in the box now. Harding lays it off. Steinmetz. Price, edge of the box, tries to get through, brought down by Fryer, but no foul given. A good bit of play from Western Sydney, but those coach killers just giving away the ball way too easily. A tough one.
It is a tough one, you know, because they've done so well there to be able to get Beth Gordon in a position where she's facing forward. And as coaches, we always want to try and get our midfielders onto the ball. And as we see here, a good little chance here for Western Sydney Wanderers. And Price is always so great on her feet there, and she was lucky to get away with that, I think, Brisbane Roar.
Perhaps a gift for the Brisbane Roar. Will it go some way in this game? Half an hour to play. And a game that was originally scheduled to kick off at 4 p.m. now has a 7 p.m. kickoff time local. And good reprieve for the players. Hot day here in Sydney today. Certainly had the aircon on all day. Kath Canoli.
I can tell you I didn't have the aircon on because I was on the football pitches all morning with the SD Raiders Football Club, and it was a scorcher out west today, and it's been a tough one all day, and there's been a lot of movement in football games and football matches across Sydney today, and it's fantastic to see that, you know, all the clubs and the leagues all come together to make sure that the welfare of these players, and we get to see a quality game of football as well.
Football, football, football for Kath Cannoli. Would you be surprised? Never stops.
You never work a day in your life, Cam, when you're doing something that you love.
Don't I know it? Don't I know it? Kath. McQueen. Rankin. Fryer has to stay strong, and Beth Gordon drawing the foul in the end there. Sian Fryer judged to have given it away.
You can see the replay here again. You've got to love this battle between these two today. They've really been fighting it out, the both of them.
It's been a great matchup throughout the game. Feisty, but fair. Rasha. Brisbane really have to hunt a goal. Has to be sooner rather than later as well, especially if they want to get the 3 points. Well, you saw Western Sydney score 2 in 4 minutes. We know how quickly things can change here in the Liberty A-League. As many call it the Chaos League. Will we see some chaos tonight to round off what has been a fantastic weekend? Kat Smith doing a great job in her first season. I think it's fair to say. The building blocks are there. Went from a great run earlier in the season where some were saying, well, they could sneak into finals. Hasn't panned out that way. But nevertheless, signs are there that if things go well in the second season, then things could be looking bright in the west of Sydney. As well, with an extended team in the competition, Central Coast Mariners coming back, a potential top 6, not confirmed yet, however, as Brisbane under a bit of pressure here, but, well, it opens a whole lot of doors in the coming seasons with the competition going to 12.
It really does, you know, and it's fantastic to see that the competition is growing, and, you know, we're going to be going to a full home and away season next year, and, you know, it's great signs. And if we do go to a, you know, a top 6 as well, it gives teams more opportunities to be able to play finals football, and again gives more teams something more to play for, you know, and you can see how exciting the competition's been already this season.
As Rankin, almost a nosebleed for it, winding up in the box. Kruger. The ball in now. Connors takes it down. Still going is Connors. Can't hang on to it, but it's still alive for the Brisbane Roar. Will this be their opportunity? Stevenson is delivered by Riley. Stevenson still going. Stevenson won by Harrison, and Kruger doing well. And Kath Cannoli, we mentioned that a potential top 6. I mean, talk about excitement in these final few weeks. We've already been talking about it for the past few, about who can make it to the 6. That becomes even more exciting.
Super exciting, you know, and this is what gets people to games. This is what keeps people interested in the competition. And, you know, we always know finals time, everybody wants to play finals, you know, and if we can get a top 6 going and more teams involved, and gets more hype around it. And I just think it's always great to see, and we've seen in the men's A-League as well, where, you know, even the bottom teams can come out and win that comp, which is fantastic to see. It's anybody's game.
I mean, the A-League men's at the moment is chaos personified right now. Melbourne Victory today getting a win over Central Coast. It's a sight to behold, this campaign, and we hope we can get the same of the women's next year.
It is, and it's exciting, you know, and that's what gets people watching the game and gets people to the games. And, you know, we need to get, you know, more Australians behind the Liberty A-League and the men's competition. We need to really start to really hone down on getting, you know, bums on seats, because that's what's going to essentially grow our game. And, you know, we've got the Women's World Cup this year, and we've got to really get behind that and start to convert those people that are going to the Women's World Cup to get to our games.
And we talk about player opportunities with extra teams, but it's not only players, it's administrators, it's coaches, it's physios, medical staff, everything in between. More jobs all round. It's all positives. And especially with a club like Central Coast, who were in the league in the past, it'll be great to have them back.
It's going to be fantastic to have Central Coast back in the competition. You know, they've got such a great core of youngsters coming through in the NPL, and they've produced so many great young Central Coast, you know, youngsters that are coming through, you know, the league as well. And it's great to see that region be able to have its own team and have that supporter base.
And a great opportunity here, Kath, as well, it must be said. A great ball in, and Claire Hunt with a risky header.
Perfect ball in, you know, it's a dangerous area there, and, you know, Shay Connors has got to come across that defender, and, you know, it is a bit risky there from Claire, but I'm sure she would have been knowing that she's in a position there that she could just clear it away in that time.
Well, another corner opportunity, their third of the game for the Brisbane Roar. In from Palmer towards the back post. Claire Hunt all on her lonesome underneath it. And the strike from Riley. Can't be steered, goal bound. And it will be a substitution once more, this time for Western Sydney. And it might be a couple. And it will be a drinks break, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure where the substitutions are coming from. Which side they are. It looks like Malia Steinmetz will be making way. And perhaps Amy Chisari coming on. As we have another look back at the goals that were from the first half, and Brisbane Roar getting back into the game, Kat.
It's fantastic to see Brisbane Roar getting back in the game, but they do look quite flat in this second half. And you could see back then, prior to that corner, you know, Claire Hunt's getting an easy header just to clear away. And you can see here with the goal, Shay Connors again lightning down that right-hand side, and a nice easy tap in for Larissa Crummer.
Was just able to pick Gemma Ferris's pocket there. All too casual from the young centre half, and if you give Shay Connors an opportunity, it won't take her much to take advantage of it.
She's lightning quick, and you've got to make sure that when you do step in on someone like Shay Connors, that you've got to make sure that she's out of the game. She's such a fantastic striker, and she does really well with her speed. And again, Larissa Crummer was in a great position there just to be able to tap that into the back of the net.
And we'll hopefully be able to get a little bit of confirmation on the substitutions as soon as possible. Perhaps Melka Serres coming on. And it is Liv Price coming off. Amy Chisari coming on. As well, Malia Steinmetz making way. Melka Serres into the fray. We spoke about her earlier, one of those MacArthur Rams players. Amy Chisari started last week, but with the players coming back from the young Matildas, was put onto the bench, but now getting around 20 minutes to do her thing. Kath Canoli.
Yeah, it's great to see Amy Chisari on the pitch, and, you know, she started off with a scholarship contract as well at the start of the season. So to be able to work her way up and get herself into a starting position last week and now come off the bench today, I think it's fantastic to see that, you know, Kat Smith is putting, you know, some trust into these youngsters to be able to put them onto this pitch with, you know, 20 minutes to go and have, you know, great thoughts that she can trust, you know, someone of Amy Chisari's young age. But for me, it's great to see, you know, Melka Serres back on the pitch. You know, she's a great talent. You know, technically, I think she's class, and you know, she had a great start to the season, and then she got that hamstring injury, and just ever since she's just been out of favour or hasn't worked herself back into this starting 11.
A few good opportunities, a heavy collision there once more. And that time, India Paige Riley in the thick of it. Ball forward for Sophie Harding. But Jamila Rankin first to the scene. Fryer. Tamar Levin. Nowhere to go. Melka Saris able to win it. We saw her score earlier this campaign, I believe against Newcastle. It was a great goal in that one as she is on the ball now. And a great ball out wide at that. Now inside, Bolden. Gordon. Takes some time, shoots, but it is blocked by Jamila Rankin.
It was a tough one there for Beth Gordon. You know, you get into that position there, and you know, there's not many options going forward for her. And you know, here when you see her playing in this position, you want to be making some sort of forward runs or looking to combine with someone on the edge of the box. And unfortunately, the time got ahead of her, and she couldn't make anything from that.
Western Sydney still with the ascendancy. Brisbane Roar slowing down after a fairly quick start to the half. Gemma Ferris under pressure once more. Perhaps the Brisbane Roar looking to exploit that.
That's where Kaya needs to make sure, you know, you've got your defender facing backward, you've gone to press, and that's where that's your moment, that's your cue for the rest of the team to now go and squeeze and press and put Western Sydney Wanderers under pressure.
Jessie Rashard able to draw the foul there. Sophie Harding unhappy. Rachel Mitchinson laying down the law with Beth Gordon as we have another look back. Melka Saris has been great off the bench, and we see Sophie Harding just catching Jessie Rashard there perhaps, and this is nice from the Brisbane Roar. But Alexia Postolakis doing better. Cuts inside well, the 16-year-old. Perhaps thinking India Paige Riley was one of her players, one of her teammates.
Again, you know, we do all the hard work to be able to build up and get into those great positions, and you can't just give the ball away so cheaply. If you can't go forward and there's nothing on, that's when you restart and maybe you start again and you change sides and you go out the other way. But you can't just give the ball away like that, because, you know, sometimes teams in that moment, when you've lost the ball and your right fullback is so high up the pitch, you know, teams can punish you in those moments as well.
Harrison with the switch. A classy player is Amy Harrison. Hunt. Karmis. There's 15 to play. And the Roar, with every second that ticks down, the opportunities dwindle appropriately. Harrison tries to skip by Kaya Stevenson, who does go down. Chisari. Matos. Trying to find Sophie Harding, but cut out well by Jessie Rashard, and we've sung her praises all game long, but for good reason. Been absolutely sensational today as Jessie Rashard. Postolakis almost able to read it, but Sian Fryer just cutting it out there, but doesn't get quite enough of it. Sian Fryer having a few words for the officials as well.
You've got to give it to Sian Fryer. I thought she's had a fantastic game today. She's worked super hard. There's been times, you know, she's been getting up and down that left-hand side, and, you know, she's been left with little to no options in that front third to, you know, be able to combine or be able to play someone in behind. You can see she gets the ball and she's looking for someone to make a run in behind, and there's not much option for her, but she's done super well.
Serena Boulding drawing the foul there. Does well to do so. And Western Sydney, well, they're taking every single second they can. And fair enough from their perspective. We're wanting to watch the clock tick down as much as they can.
I'm not sure if Amy Harrison has ever trained in those boots. They look very, very white.
Brand new boots, perhaps. Straight out the box. You'd wondered if she'd even played today with the looks of them. And the delivery could be perfect. Bolden. We've seen the score before. Claire Hunt up forward now as well. Retreating, however, Chisari towards the penalty spot, and Beth Gordon! Unbelievable! Well, she got her first Liberty A-League goal earlier today. And, well, it's double trouble for the Wanderers midfielder, who goes over and celebrates with the bench. And the physio, by the looks of things.
Looks like the physio is her favourite person on the bench today, but what a fantastic finish from Beth Gordon. Again, you know, she's in the right place at the right time, and just the willingness to want to put that ball in the back of the net is fantastic.
Well, we've been talking about how good of a season she's had, and, well, today just puts the cherry on top. 2 goals. Opened her account in the Liberty A-League and doubled it in the same match, and a great volley there. Alert to it. And no hug for Kat Smith. No hug for any of the substitutes. The physio.
Hug for the physio. Maybe she was carrying some sort of injury this week.
It was the pre-game. It was the pre-game strapping, I'm sure. Must
have been. But again, you know, what is it when players get into those positions? And it's fantastic that Beth is getting herself in those positions to be able to have those opportunities in the game. And, you know, you can see the excitement and the happiness on her face.
Harding. Can the Wanderers get more from this game? They do clear it. And, well, if you want to unpack everything about this game later on, there'll be some great yarns on keepup.com.au. Equally, bit of a shameless self-plug here, Kath Cannulli, but the official Liberty A-League podcast, it will be myself, Grace Gill, and Kath Cannulli on it this week.
100% Cam. There's nothing shameless about it. Make sure you get on it, guys, because there'll be plenty of talking points.
No doubt be unpacking Beth Gordon's fantastic performance. Western Sydney Wanderers with a big historic win, perhaps. There's still 10 minutes to play.
Massive win for the Western Sydney Wanderers. You know, I think it's going to be really hard for the Brisbane Roar to actually get themselves back in this game. You can see they're flattened off, especially over the last 15 minutes, and they're struggling to press as a unit. And there's been moments in the game when they can really go for it, but they really haven't had that extra, that special something, that little bit of an edge on them, and they're just going through the motions at the moment. And I think that Beth Gordon goal is a nail in the coffin for this game.
Historic contextually, but also it's the Kath Cannulli derby. One of them. Can't think of too many players who played for both sides as well, it must be said. Off the top of my head, at least. Zara Kruger's day comes to an end. The 16-year-old, part of Leah Blaney's young Matilda squad, who did so well in the NPL, especially last season up in Queensland. Her day comes to an end, and it's an exchange of QAS products as Aaliyah DeVerne comes on for Gareth McPherson, a player who, by all accounts, will be looking to fill the void left by Katrina Gorry. A big opportunity for both. Zara Kruger, looks like Kaya Stevenson, her day's done as well. And the substitute will be, I believe, Talitha Kramer. Well, there's one of the players who's played for both sides, a former Western Sydney Wanderers player, Kath Cannulli.
I was just about to say that, and you stole my limelight. So yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Talitha Kramer is somebody that, you know, previously played for Western Sydney Wanderers and has made the move up to Brisbane and playing for the Brisbane Roar. You know, a fierce competitor as well on the pitch, and again, someone else that you don't want to be going into a 50-50 with.
Shay Connor's doing really well. It's brought down by Ferris on the chest. Did well to keep her arms out the way. McQueen. It's a little bit too far away from India Page Riley, but does well just to stick a toe out and maintain control.
I think if we go back on your point, Cam, about the Brisbane Roar and, you know, players playing for both teams, and if we think back to the Liberty A-League and, you know, when it started, it was so dominated by Brisbane-born players or Queensland-born players, and they were such fierce competitors, and they had majority of, you know, the Matildas as well, and it was tough to get into the Brisbane Roar team back then, and, you know, they've always been so strong, and it's probably only been in the last couple of years that, you know, the older sort of Matildas that have actually gone abroad and left that void for now these younger players that are starting to get the opportunities.
Well, you mentioned the likes of Katrina Gorry, Polks, among others, but there's also your Ish Fergusons, your Kim Carrolls, those kind of players that were littered throughout the competition.
Tamika Yallop, Elise Callum Knight, you know, we could sit here and talk on and on about the talent that's come out of Brisbane Roar and how many players have gone on to have, you know, a fantastic career, and not only on the pitch. And, you know, we talk about Alicia Ferguson as well. She's, you know, doing fantastic stuff off the pitch at the moment, doing, you know, commentating and producing and such great things. And, you know, we've got so many girls that have played the game that are still involved with football, and I think that's a special thing to have, you know, because as footballers sometimes we get lost to the game, and it's important that as a game that we keep that connection to all players and try and keep them involved in one way or another, whether it's on the pitch or in an administration role or any other role as well.
Well, there's a big job for the Brisbane Roar and Gareth McPherson to do to return the Brisbane Roar to their former glory, as it were. Sienna Silvesca getting ready to come on. Serena Bolden, I should say, her day comes to a close. And a quick high five from her young Matildas and Wanderers teammate in Alexia Apostolakis. Serena Bolden, despite not getting on the score sheet, had a fairly productive day up top.
She works super hard, you know. She does a lot of work off the ball for her team, and, you know, she gets herself in positions where, you know, she can get into those scoring positions. But, you know, today just wasn't her day. But it can't go about, you know, how much work she actually does off the ball. And you could see at times there, especially in the first half, that she was coming quite deep to actually try and get on the ball and get part of the game. She just couldn't get herself into the game today.
Kramer, quick throw in down the line, but it's cut out by Beth Gordon. She's one of the standouts, that's for sure. Could be getting all three of the points. Rashad lifted it long, looking for Shay Connors, who's just struggling to get involved in these late stages.
It's sometimes tough, you know, in a game where you've tried to give everything and, you know, you get to the point where, you know, there's only not long to go, you're 3-1 down, you know, the season for them realistically, you know, with losing those points, sometimes it gets really tough to mentally stay in the game.
And we're at that point in the season where mathematical elimination is coming into effect and is taking shape. Both sides today on the precipice, I'm sure. Ferris, Chisari. Now's the time of year where it's all about next season, and a big hip and shoulder that time from Melka Saris. Jeez, sit down, Holly Palmer.
I sense a little bit of frustration there from Melka Saris. You know, she's not normally like that, but to, you know, push her off the ball like that, there's a little bit of frustration in her right now.
One of those ones that usually they look worse in slow motion, but in real time, perhaps looked a little bit worse than when slowed down. Either way, big hit from Melka Saris. As you have another look in the corner, bang! Melka Saris might go on the hype reel next season for Western Sydney.
sometimes you love to see that from a quiet player like Mel Caceres. You know, they're so like twinkle toe on the ball. They're technical players, and you don't tend to see that side of them. So to see a bit of that in the game, it's sometimes nice to see that they've got a bit of that grunt in them. You know, so I sense probably a little bit of frustration for Mel Caceres as well. Again, we spoke about, you know, her having a great start to the season and doing really well, and then coming into that injury and sort of falling out of that starting 11 and not really playing much football on the back end.
Quick throw in. Toss to Larkus. Just happy to go back for Sham Karmas.
Wanderers have just got to manage the game here. You know, there's only a few minutes left. They've got to be smart, keep possession of the ball, keep moving Brisbane Roar around, and just really wind down the clock. And you know, a lot of game management from the whole team here.
Just minutes to play in this one. You wouldn't think too much should be added on based on the run of things. Caceres. Shut down well by Rankin, but still alive. Silvestre, a brilliant ball over the top. If Harding stayed on, but the first touch just letting her down on what was a fantastic ball over the top.
What a ball. And that's what Sienna Silvestre can bring to this team. And, you know, we know she's young, but she's got a massive future ahead of her. And you could see, even before she's played that ball, she's actually pointing for her to make that run. She's seen it, you know, a couple of seconds before. She's read that play, and she knew where she wanted to put her. She was just waiting for someone to make that run in behind.
One of those players that I'm sure will excite many over the next few years, Sienna Silvestre.
And a fellow lefty as well, so she can hit a ball, and she's got a cracking left foot on her.
It's a unique trait. Doesn't come too often.
It sure is. There's not many of us around.
Sham Karmas soaking in the seconds. Taking her time. 4 added on.
And Sham Karmas, you know, she's been around football for such a long time. And, you know, I remember back in the day when we were playing at Sydney FC, and obviously Lena Karmas was one of my teammates there, and Sham used to just come to training, and she used to just belt balls at her all training session long. And
as an opportunity, this time for Mel Caceres.
Again, just fantastic to see Sham get an opportunity. Obviously, Jordan Bloom has gone home, but to see Sham, you know, get this opportunity to play some games on the back end of this season. She's been a fantastic addition to the Western Sydney Wanderers and the Liberty A-League. And, you know, no matter whether she was playing or not playing, you know, last season when I was in charge, she was always one of the best trainers and always working hard and pushing her team to be better each and every day.
So important from a number 2 keeper as well to provide that competition, and especially in training. There's the ball now for the Wanderers. Into the box, headed away by Talitha Kramer, the former Western Sydney Wanderers player. Came over this off-season from the Wellington Phoenix. Played in the local competition with the Capalaba Bulldogs as well. Former team of Amy Chapman as well. Larissa Kramer played there.
We've got to give our congratulations to Amy Chapman as well, having a little baby girl.
It's been a while. Been a few months, but massive congratulations to her nonetheless.
A few months when you got a little baby. I've got one at home. It's a hard
Well, it's a
slog.
congratulations to you too, Kat. You had one not too long ago as well. It was a month. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it has been. It's 5 weeks today. We've got little baby Mateo at home, and don't worry, I've already called Amy Chapman to set him up already. So we're going to get another little football family happening.
Oh, you love it. Love to see that. I say only a month, and it's probably a little bit naive of me. Kath is a 23-year-old. Not quite knowing about that just yet.
I'll call you at midnight when I'm doing the midnight feed tonight.
If you ever need a babysitter, I've got Teo's number for you.
Teo, you can babysit anytime you like. You can bring my baby up to the stats of women's football in Australia.
Oh, you get a good education as the ball in now, saved by Karmas. Low And brilliant. Almost a goal for the Brisbane Roar, and it goes out for a goal kick.
Fantastic save by Sham Karmas there, and she's so brave when it comes to those balls in the box, and she just makes herself nice and big. She's got a great just eye for it, and she's just brave when it comes to that. And again, you know, we spoke before, and Cam, you mentioned her as a number 2 keeper. For me, you know, it's like having, you know, 2 number 1s when you've got Sham Karmas on your team, and I think that's what you need.
Western Sydney, a massive save from Sham Karmas. And they've got the 2-goal buffer. Can they add to it? Hensley handcuff. Alert to it. Well controlled by Ferris. Chisari under pressure, won by DeVerne. And just a hopeful ball forward. Shay Connors will be applying the pressure to Sham Karmas now, who's just soaking it all in.
It's great to see Shay Connors still trying to run her down, and, you know, trying to do something for her team. And it's tough, you know, get to this point of the game, and you sort of just want to just throw it away. But, you know, it's great to see her work ethic there doing that.
Atos trying to keep it in play, and that will be full time at Wanderers Football Park. Western Sydney with their first ever win over the Brisbane Roar at home, and what a win it was. Debut, or I should say maiden goals for not only Claire Hunt, but Beth Gordon with a brace on the day. A brilliant win for the Western Sydney Wanderers as they leapfrog Gareth McPherson's Brisbane Roar and lay the foundations for what could be a historic 2023-24 season. It ends at Wanderers Football Park. Western Sydney Wanderers 3, Brisbane Roar 1. And Kath Canoli, well, a dominant first half by the Brisbane Roar, but Wanderers just running away with it.
They did. At the end, they took their opportunities, and, you know, they put the ball in the back of the net, and I thought they were, you know, a lot more clinical than Brisbane Roar. And, you know, Roar had their opportunities in the first half, and they didn't take it. And unfortunately, if you're going to gamble and you're going to push numbers forward, you're going to have to take those opportunities and put them in the back of the net. And, you know, Western Sydney Wanderers got some really quality technical players, and they've done really well.
Well, a massive win for the Western Sydney Wanderers in the shape of the season, the shape of their history, and one to remember not only for Beth Gordon, but for Claire Hunt as well. Campbell Johnson and Kath Canoli here in commentary. It ends at Wanderers Football Park in their first ever win over the Brisbane Roar at home. Western Sydney 3, Brisbane Roar 1.
Yeah, we look nice, future looking nice, we don't need to tell them twice.
The future.
Yeah, we look nice, future looking real nice, we don't need to tell them twice.
The future.